Hello, happy people. Hope you're having a great day today. Today we're going to be taking a look at The Gardener by Margaret St. Clair. She was a pulp writer who got started writing in the pulp magazines. In 1945 was when she published her short story. She was publishing short stories, novellas, and novels for decades. This is a science fiction short story. I've also read The Man Who Sold Rope to the Knolls in the Appendix N collection. And then that's it. So today I wanted to take a look at, I wanted to do a deeper dive into her stuff. And my reason for doing a deeper dive into her stuff is an apology. And this is because I felt bad. And I was doing my review of The Man Who Sold Rope to the Knolls in the Appendix N collection. And the Appendix N was written in 1979 for the Dungeon Master's Guide, the first one. And in it, Gary Gygax cites all of these inspirations and places to go for inspirational reading and inspirations of where he got his ideas for Dungeons & Dragons. And from Dungeons & Dragons, modern fantasy, gaming, role-playing, comics, videos, books, and so forth. And all these different media have gotten a lot from Dungeons & Dragons. So you can find out where these influences came from, right? Makes total sense. And there is this collection called the Appendix N that brings together a lot of the people, big names and lesser names from this set. You can read a lot of short stories. One novella by Robert E. Howard set in the Conan story, and that sort of a thing. So you get a feel for what these influential things were. But there's a few stories in this collection by the Appendix N, like Tanith Lee, that aren't on the Appendix N. And so I had this question, why are these people on this? And so I asked that question, right? And Margaret St. Clair is in the Appendix N. She is absolutely, officially, heavily canonized in Dungeons & Dragons and a big influence in the genre and through it, modern fantasy. But she is not, and she has a short story included in the Appendix N. But I said in my video, I don't think she's in the Appendix N. And then I said, but let me check just to make sure. So I looked it up while I was recording my video, and I found out that I was actually wrong. She actually is in the Appendix N, and I apologize. But I still felt bad about that, so I wanted to go ahead and say, well, I'm going to go ahead and do my deep dive into Margaret St. Clair now, as sort of an apology for getting that wrong, and for getting that I reviewed it ahead of time. And then I was like, I'm not really sure as I'm saying it. And I was like, let me double check just to make sure. And I was wrong. So that's why. It's the funny reason why. I do have the idea that I want to read something by everybody on the Appendix N at some point in time or another. And I'm pretty deep into that list. But now we're going to be taking a look at the second short story by Margaret St. Clair in this collection, By the Best Of, which I'll link you to in the comments below in case you want to read this short story. Now this short story is actually, and The Man Who Sold Rope to the Knolls is actually in this one too. So skip on by. This is a 12-page short story. It's science fiction. The previous one was fantasy-ish, maybe modern fantasy. It has one fantasy element, the fact that Knolls exist, and then that's it. And then the rest of it's sort of a modern tailing of Knolls existing and trying to sell them rope, because that's what you get from the title. The Man Who Sold Rope to the Knolls. So this is only the second short story by Margaret St. Clair that I've ever read. And I finished it last night. I wanted to do a deep dive into this collection for you. And so that's basically what I'm doing here with this collection, is doing a deep dive into it. And we're taking a look today at The Gardener. Well, basically, the key concept of The Gardener is that people who are in power abuse that power. And regularly they abuse that power in the direction of which they have control. So in this case, we have a galactic bureaucrat in the Earth Empire who moves about from planet to planet to planet and is in charge of plants that are planted. He's basically like a celestial ranger, if you will, in the Earth Empire. And he's on this planet, and he says, I want to destroy this plant. Now, destroying this plant is against the law. And so he's, you'll find this on the first page, and you'll find out that these are protected by the law, both locally and galactically. There's 50 of them. There's only supposed to be 50 of them. He says one of them's going to, he orders one to be torn down. He says it's going to be a nice walking stick. And then that is the beginning of this short story. This idea that people in positions of power abuse the power that they represent. and our gardener, our celestial gardener, celestial forester, who's in charge of plants on these various intergalactic planets in the Earth Empire, is a bad person, if you will, for this reason. And he will be pursued by a creature called the Gardener, who seeks its vengeance because of his error in judgment. And that's it. That's the short story in summation. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. It's fine. It's well written. There's some good solid phrasery in it. It is a solid short story, and I definitely enjoyed it. But it's not something I go to the mattresses for. I don't think it's an 8, 9, or a 10 out of 10. But it's fine. It's worth your time. It took me probably about 25 minutes for me to knock it out. So it probably took me about 2 minutes a page on a smaller novel like this. So it's about the same length as Leap Racket. I did a deep dive into Leap Racket's stuff, and probably about 2 minutes a page too. So we'll see what I think of the next short story by Margaret St. Clair, and see what genre it is. This is definitely science fiction, but we'll see what genre the next one is. And then that's it. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. Have you read this short story? If so, what did you think of it? I would be more than happy to engage you with it further in the comments below, whatever your take is of it. If you like this video, please feel encouraged to hit that subscribe button, because there's going to be a lot more of these to follow. And finally, I wanted to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video. We all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.